Yes,
If
right?
you want me to run down all of my grievances with Hasan, I can really quick, so that way you can have it all on the record, so that way you know exactly where I'm coming from. All right. So I think it is really shit how after the editor drama, he proceeded to talk about how he wanted to set up a co-op for his editors and the people running his YouTube. Then he proceeded to go on H3's podcast and then say he doesn't want to set up a co-op for his editors, not because it would be hard, which honestly, if he said that, yeah, that shit would be.
Oh, here it is.
Could you imagine trying to set up a co-op for like YouTube people? That sounds incredibly hard.
Yeah.
How is that harder than like advocating for every business to be a co-op? What is he talking about?
He will explain.
I was fully expecting that. I would have accepted that hands down, walked away, been happy. No, what he said was, it was like, because I am the primary producer of the content, I don't think a co-op would be appropriate. And I was like, I understand it, but like I really
there's
didn't
a legitimate
like that.
argument to be made there, right?
I think there is, but
the thing with a cooperative is that collective ownership is kind of the name of the game there. The problem though is that when you're like in a media org, like if you're a Twitch streamer or a YouTuber, you can never really have like a fair or equal share of what's done because there's one irreplaceable work.
Yeah, you know what?
If only that applied anywhere else.
That doesn't apply to anything else. Nope.
Well, see,
it's actually incredible to watch it happen in real time. Like, just incredible.
Yeah, that's literally what the primary investor, the guy who starts the business, is he the primary investor? If he built everything up from if he took on all the risks, if he's the guy that built the company or the restaurant or whatever from the ground up, he's gonna say literally the same fucking thing, Vaush.
This one sentence demolishes his entire ideology. Like, I could have had a section on socialism.
Yes,
and I could have just shown this clip and then explained it for about 30 seconds and ended it.
And you know
I wouldn't have to say anything else.
He's not even correct in terms of like, so he's saying he could bring on some editors, he could bring on some maybe some even other pundits, he could bring on some people that can bring him articles to react to, they can filter videos and they can do outreach. And he's like, well, ultimately though, not really a co-op because I'm still the most important cog in that machine. And at that point, it's just be like, okay, so then why don't you hire some talented speakers as well?
Yeah,
why don't you
someone
hire some
more
people
famous
to generate?
than you, Vaush? Why don't you hire Hasan?
Not even that. Just look for talented people who have no ability to be able to push their own channels, bring them onto yours, and then give them loads of money so they can sort themselves out on their end, and then make them provide content as a part of the co-op.
Well, this is just true in every company.
Would that work?
Ultimately,
is Hasan
co-ops
replaceable? I don't know.
Do worker co-ops not actually have any kind of hierarchy in terms of some people get paid more or less based on?
No, they
there's
do
got
have
to be
hierarchy.
something.
There's a bunch of different types. Yeah,
because
how
I was
they
going to say
split
they
the
would have to
wages,
be
though.
at least the amount of time worked gets you more. Surely that would have to be at least something. So yeah, basically what I'm getting at is he's gotten himself out of having to do things that his ideology would demand by just being like, it's too hard.
Well, how is Hasan not paying his mods or his editor enough? How's that not extracting surplus labor from all these people?
Well, it is.
Well,
I know.
So the problem here is I don't know if you can actually deal with Hasan in any way, shape, or form on this stuff, because he like with Vaush we can point out hypocrisies and we can call on his own quotes and his own understanding. Hasan is like no bullshit as far as I'm concerned.
I know, but I'm talking about like from Vaush's making this argument that he's not, that this is impossible, that he's not extracting surplus labor from these people when he clearly is.
Well, also he's making the argument that he can't set up a workers' co-op because there's one person in the workers' co-op that's indispensable. But how does that? How does that change the whole idea behind the workers' co-op is that the workers own the means of production and split equitably among them. It doesn't matter that you're more indispensable. Listen, the whole fucking Marx thing is to each according to his abilities, from each according to his needs. So I mean,
there's lots of people in companies, even if it's not a single person, there's lots of people in companies that are way more indispensable than a lot of other people.
Well, it's funny that he would argue that Elon Musk can be replaced at a place like SpaceX, but Vaush is completely irreplaceable at the Vaush Inc. YouTube channel.
Can we reference how both like Destiny and Sargon have like their job creators compared to Vaush?
Oh, totally.
Like there are people who thrive potentially anyway. I'm not sure how much they're getting paid, but the people who are getting along well in society as a fact of getting shared money from both of these capitalists.
Right, but that's the perfect example of why this co-op model fails, is because you have a capitalist who can say, hey, I can pay people a good wage and a fair wage, but the socialist can't, because he doesn't want to hand over actual stake in his enterprise to anyone else, so he just hoards it.
Yeah.
Well, and the rationale behind it is interesting. The fact that I'm irreplaceable. You do not understand. You do not understand.
I'm assuming you guys have been over the whole, like, if a country were to actually introduce, like, the second you have 5 employees rather than 4, it has to become a co-op, then everyone's just going to hire 4 people.
Yeah, and that was a big problem in Venezuela. That's why their market was failing a lot. It was because there wasn't a lot of people, not only, who wants to start a business if it has to be a co-op, but then once you have the co-op, you don't want to hire more fucking people.
Yeah.
The worker. You can replace editors, you can replace everyone, but you could never, ever replace the person.
I like how he says you could replace editors. That's so fucking insulting.
Yeah.
Like,
you can replace anyone. I can just replace you.
That's true of almost everyone in the world. You can just replace them.
So either we go super broad or we don't. If we're not going broad, then you can't just replace an editor. Some editors are way more valuable than others.
Sure.
You can, like, it's the idea that there's just an editing tree and you can pluck them off it. It's just like, no. You get all kinds of different qualifications and abilities and programs and free time and charging. Like, this, you can't just. But then again, if we're going to say, like, well, no, we are talking about a general job here, just putting videos, like a simplistic kind of one, I should be like, okay, well, then Vaush, you're replaceable. Okay,
Vaush there are other people irreplaceable. How dare you
do what Vaush could do, but better than him? And, like, I don't even think that's hard to imagine, because Vaush makes loads of mistakes.
Right. Well, I mean, it's obvious he's never, like, has he worked like a normal job before? Because I don't understand how anyone has ever worked in the real world can have this take, because you all know that you work at a job and there's always like the 1 or 2 people that work and then everyone else just fucking slacks off. Fucks around. So.
Yeah. I think you're probably one of the people that works, Sitch, and I'm one of the people that slacks off, to be honest.
I'm one of the ones that pretends very well like they're working.
Oh, good. Oh, we can hang out then.
Smart but lazy. Okay. That's what I aspire to be.
I'm good at that too.
If Vaush has an editor or a moderator, and he couldn't do all the work on his own, that means he's relying on these people the same way you rely on like a worker or a waiter or something to run your business or to help you run your business. And thus they deserve to have, a share in your enterprise. That's a co-op model.
He cannot be in that situation because he literally is worried about being a hypocrite.
I know. That's why this is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Person who's behind the camera, or in front of the camera, I'm sorry. So in that case, a worker cooperative would only really be like a shared payment structure, because in reality, there's no way for anyone other than the person in front of the camera to ever take that ownership with them. It belongs to them because of their face. That's why I don't have a worker cooperative. It would be like, it'd be like a virtue signal. I do pay sharing for sure, but in terms of ownership, they could take the channel.
So if you have some guy who starts a restaurant, calls it Dave's Shrimp Emporium, and he does all the commercials and he's very charismatic and he gets all the money and he starts a business and everything. And whenever you're at the restaurant, Dave runs around the restaurant screaming about shrimp and everyone fucking loves it. Does that mean that, like, well, Dave is, you can't replace the worker. You can't get rid of Dave. The restaurant requires him to function. Therefore, he doesn't have to have a co-op model.
Yeah, I'm laughing because
in the same way, if they all came for the special shrimp made by Steven, but everyone else was just making regular meals, but that's shrimp, right. Man, that's the top dog shrimp, and that brings in a lot of people. It's like, well, I guess Steve should own the place. People there, he can't be replaced.
And what's funny? Because he's literally describing capitalism.
He is. I know. That's what's great.
You have a worker who comes in, they make themselves indispensable, and then they demand a raise, and then they move up the hierarchy.
Yeah, that's what you do. That's literally the story of my. Yeah, that's what you fucking do.
Oh my god.
And I'm laughing because, like, the scenario you described, I actually experienced that. I knew a guy who was a sommelier. So he knew all these restaurants, and he was like, "Hey, you want to go see this really shitty restaurant?" And there was this guy who had like a very expensive restaurant, but that served just like shitty food. But he would try and make it better with all these gimmicks. Like the restaurant owner would walk around and talk to people. That was like one of the fucking gimmicks.
Right.
It's like exactly what you were saying.
Yeah,
it's like the most garbage fucking restaurant.
Vaush. It's an innate characteristic.
I understand. And the way that it came off to me wasn't the way that you said it there, and that's the reason why I had the grievance there. Now I couldn't do it justice or what have you, right? It was just the way that it came off to me. That was a grievance that I had. The grievance that I had was that all of the arguments that he made during the editor drama clearly showed that he had no understanding about actual socialism at all. He made the argument about how he gave his.
Why does he think CEOs get paid so much?
Yeah, why does Vaush think that?
Yeah,
it's so funny because people will be like, they'll make a huge fucking deal. Oh, did you know that the only job of companies is to maximize money for the stockholders? And then they'll turn around and say CEOs don't deserve any money. They don't do anything. Like, it's like, okay, then why the fuck would the companies be giving them money if the only thing you're trying to do is maximize money for the shareholders?
They get paid a lot because they're seen as indispensable, because they're the one that's directing how to make all this fucking money.
Well, and there's not a lot of them. It's supply and demand. Like, there's not a lot of people that can work at that high level.
But Vaush can't accept that, because then I'd be saying that the CEOs are indispensable.
Yeah, obviously, but he's a moron. We know that already. We understand that.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, like when I had a job where I was doing a ton of work. We had in like a 20-person company, and if you just looked at if you looked at the product we were making and then who was actually contributing directly to the product, you wouldn't see the CEO around very much. But the CEO was busy doing shit like getting us merged with another company so that we all had jobs and got our salaries doubled. Right. So like, it doesn't really matter that his direct, it doesn't really matter that I was running the fucking website. It's like, I was doing that because he was doing his job so well.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just wondering, how do we replace Vaush? Like, what would the ad be? Like, looking for moron, someone who's willing to say anything at any time to win an argument. Like, what does that ad look like?
And I think it's weird as well that we're spending so much time listening to him argue, like, well, even if I were to bring people on and try and generate a co-op, it's obvious that I'm still the one that matters compared to them, and so, blah, blah, blah. But it's just like, okay, but like, why aren't you just creating opportunities for people to be earning money while creating more content to help further your channel? Like, even if you believe that.
Yeah.
Because as people have brought up before, didn't he had an editor that he was like giving payment to? And like that, I don't know if he still has it or whatever, but like it became awkward when he was arguing with Sargon about co-ops and why he isn't generating a YouTube one. I think they're still figuring that out. Like, they haven't got the argument yet.
Yeah, they need to generate the argument. Well, I mean, they kind of found it.
Just fucking.
All right.
You got it.
Have they found the argument though? It's saying that it's hard to figure out the. It's mainly me though.
Well, here's the argument. We don't care about hypocrisy.
Well, I guess so.
That is the argument, yeah. Well, I was gonna say, like, if these streamers can't figure out how to do a co-op among 4 people, how can they expect Amazon to fucking figure this shit out on like a global level?
I like the one where they say like everyone should have a vote in how everything works. Could you imagine the millions of Amazon workers being like, I don't fucking care. I vote. Are you kidding me? I just want to go home.
Right.
Like, we need to vote on which shipment we'll be heading to. No.
I know. It's just totally impractical.
Computer, and that meant he had the means of the production.
I remember that. Yeah, I guess when I see that, I mostly just see that like Hasan's a dumb fuck who has his foot in his mouth 24/7. That's why he's so tall, so he can reach and do the full fucking like wraparound. But
there you go, Adam.
Yeah, I know that's what it is. What's the timestamp on that motherfucker?
That's going in the fucking Hasan video. What the fuck? Let me download
1 minute. I mean, 1 hour and 35 minutes. There's your time.
There you go.
That joke didn't make any fucking sense. He said he's so tall because he's got his foot in his mouth and it wraps around.
Made no sense, but I did hear him say Hasan is a dumb fuck, which that really caught my attention.
Yeah, I don't understand that either.
Having your foot in your mouth makes you taller?
Wait.
That like Hasan's a dumb fuck who has his foot in his mouth 24/7. That's why he's so tall, so he can reach and do the full fucking like wraparound.
Did you just desperately want to call him a dumb fuck? He's just
he tried to make it into a joke, but it doesn't follow.
Doesn't even make sense. I don't get it.
He just wanted to call him a dumb fuck.
Did he not? Did that, is that not the toxic discourse he's been fighting against this whole conversation? I feel like maybe it is.
You can tell he wants to give everyone a laugh, and I'm sure some people thought that joke was really funny without even realizing. It would be like if I said, Sitch always trying to come off as smart. There he is with his tie, just so we could make sure he can see where he's going. You're like, what?
Yeah, definitely.
I think some people would awkwardly laugh, like,
yeah, sure.
Yeah.